the detective stood up and told me that they had forensically matched the bullet that killed my brother to the gun and the guy. He wasn't being charged, that it was self-defense. I believe that all happened because they wanted me in custody when that news was explained to me. Regardless, I reach out to National and I tell them, look, what's going on? What's my next move? And they said, we're opening up Arkansas and Oklahoma. If you want to, you can go run Arkansas. And so, this was like in my class that I teach, this is where you start to realize that no love, no loyalty. Because up to this point, I characterized the first half of my time with the Vagos as being ignorant, which means I was giving 100%. I was in it for the long haul, and these guys weren't loyal to me. But I would characterize the second half of my career with them as stupidity, because one-sided loyalty is called stupidity. When you're loyal to people and they're not loyal back and you continue to do it, you're stupid.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 or part 3 of this week's episode with Malachi Seaman, former tribal police officer, former president of a Vagos chapter, former drug user. I mean, there's a lot of formers in his life that I'm glad they're called former now, but kind of surprised ourselves yesterday with how much information and the details that we got into. And there's so much more that I wanted to ask Malachi. And if you saw yesterday's episode, if you haven't, go back and watch it because you need that background to understand what we're going to talk about today. I've still got so many questions. So we're having episode 3 this week. Malachi, thank you so much for coming back for a third part. I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, but I tell you, I truly do appreciate it. I don't know what it is, but when I bring on former bikers and former criminals on the show, that seems to be our biggest audiences that we get from that. And I think it's just because it's so intriguing to those people that don't know anything about law enforcement and they really don't know anything about the other side of the thin blue line. I think that's what makes it so intriguing. Everybody's curiosity comes along. So thank you for coming back, mister. I can't thank you enough. Now,
You're
when we
welcome.
left yesterday, you were having issues with your chapter in Bullhead City, Arizona, and you'd started having run-ins with this detective, this gang investigator out there named Jeff Vagos, who, by the way, is the person that introduced me to Malachi. So you know this is probably going to have a happy ending, or at least a decent ending, right? They were starting to pick on your guys and give them tickets for whatever, little things, anything to kind of jerk your chain a little bit. And in the very first hour we talked about this, I mentioned at the beginning of how I'd read about that. And are these things chicken shit? They are. But are they within the law? They are. They're getting your attention is what's happening. And unfortunately, it sounds like they got the attention of National, the Vagos National headquarters, right?
Yes.
So National's calling you, and what's going on?
Yeah, so I just start getting all this pressure, and and again, I just go back into my self-medicating, and then I get a call about a week later about a president's meeting in Nevada. So I ride up there, get out a bunch of bikes out front, get off my bike, and when I walk in, my sergeant at arms and my VP are standing there.
Unbeknownst to you.
That's right. And so I told him right then, I was like, "You two, your ass is mine," because there's absolutely no reason for them to be in Nevada without me knowing about it. I walk back to where the meeting's going on, and a guy, Silver, he was the president of Arizona when we first opened up, but he's, look, I'm going to do this for 30, 60 days, and then you guys are going to re-vote, and which we did, and then I got voted P. So I was his VP at first for the first 2 months, and then took over. So he's sitting back there, and he's, hey, I need to talk to you. So I sat down with a bunch of the Ps. And he's all, hey, man, your chapter took a vote of no confidence against you, so I need your president's tab. And I said, you ain't getting it, bro. I said, maybe you need to, read the bylaws. But I said, you and I both know that in order for them to do a vote of no confidence, it has to be 100%. And I only see 2 guys in my charter. I said, well, they used to be in my charter. That's going to end as soon as I leave here. And he knew I was right. So he was like, all right. So then I went out and I said, let's go. Those guys wouldn't, they're both cowards. So they wouldn't, Gunny and Psycho, they wouldn't come out and entertain a tune-up. So I was mad. I got on my bike and I rode probably a good hour back to Bullhead. And then there was one guy that I really trusted more than I should have. I didn't usually put a lot of trust in people, trust them, face value. But me and this guy had been in Mexico before, and he, we were at a party, and pretty much everything was winding down, and him and I weren't ready to quit partying. So we rode further into Mexico and got into a bar, just him and I, talking to some girls, and some Mexican dude that was in there started talking to the girl I was talking to. And when I said, hey, bro, he kind of did one of these, and long story short was Bigfoot, who was with me, was like, hey, are you sure you're okay with that dude doing that? And I was like, bro, just leave it alone. It ain't even a big deal. He ain't worth it. And about the third time he said it, I just laid the dude out. And then the fight was on. And it was a scary one, man. There was about 18 dudes in that bar, and it was him and I with our backs to each other. And we didn't come unscathed, but we beat the crap out of everybody getting out of that bar. Got on our bikes. It was so we'd shared the same blood and the same mud. So I had a mutual respect for this dude, that he was an equal, and he had became the national president. But two things. One is he opened the books when he became president. And when I saw how much money was in that, when there was almost $500,000 in the kitty, and nobody would help me with my lawyer, it pissed me off. And then one time, I didn't see the video until I was already out, but during my brother's funeral, because I was locked up, he got up to tell this story about how he loved Jay so much, and that they had so much in common and a mutual respect for each other. And he told the story about him and I in Mexico. And I was like, you didn't know my brother at all, bro, because that was me that was with you. So I trusted him, and I said, look, man, these dudes are trying to backdoor me. They're trying to start a coup. I need you to come down here so we can put everybody in their place. And up to that point, so an old timer taught me once that when we go into officer meetings, you have to disarm. So I always carried a little Caltech in my pocket, and what I would do is everybody knew I carried a Glock. So when I would walk up to the officers meeting, I would just take my Glock out of its holster and hand it to them, and they would always let me walk right in. So I always had the upper hand. I was armed in a room full of unarmed guys. I was tweaking, smoking dope, and so I was off my A game. And I look back, everything happens for a reason. If I'd have had that extra gun, if I'd have been armed, I'd have probably used it, and then I'd be in prison right now. But I disarmed and walked in, and what had happened was their argument was, a lot of people, I think most people respected me for the way I ran my charters, which is I ran them my way. I would let National Guide put out the guidelines, but I'm going to run it my way. And I had a guy from Green Machine that was a sergeant at arms 4 or 5 years in good standings. He'd filled out the same background that he had to fill out to become a Vago, and I just didn't push his paperwork through. I had already made my decision on what kind of person he was. But that's ultimately what I would get center punch for again. So I walk in this meeting, I say, because I'm never one of those guys, never would blame anybody else. I'm like, yeah, this is what I did. I'll do it again. What? And they were like, you're center punch for 6 months. And
now,
on top of that,
when you say center punch, what do you mean?
So that's where they take your center patch, and you become a prospect.
From a president to a prospect.
That's right. And then to make matters worse, the two guys that started the coup, a guy named Josh Mead, I'm not going to call him by his road name because he doesn't live up to that, and another guy named Psycho, they took, because we had such a big charter, they chopped my charter in half, made both of these guys presidents, and I became a prospect. And
wow.
So we go to Rosie's to this party. I already get into them right away because they're trying to tell me what to do. I'm like, I'm going home. I was like, screw you guys. And so I left, and I got back to the shop, and I'm trying to figure out what is my next best move. I got my dad's still in, and these dudes decide that they're just gonna, I'm not gonna go into details, but they decided that they weren't even gonna mess with me anymore, because I was told by both of them. Jeff actually has a picture of when they're talking to me, and I was like, that's when that was said. Is they said, look, dude, you can prospect as long as you want, but you're never patching back in this club. And I got pissed off and left. So now I'm in a rock and a hard place. I got my dad. I got two guys that just pulled an ATM lick. They stole a razor in the town I live in. They roll up, kick the door in, grab the ATM, throw it in a razor, and take off. And I don't even know this has happened yet. I'm about to find out. And so the two new Ps decide that they're going to they're done with me and my dad. So they send out a text to 6 guys. They're like, hey, I want you to go down to the Malachi shop, tune him and his old man up, take all their Vagos shit. They're done. They're out bad. Well, they sent me the text too.
Okay. And hold on. Jeez. And you say you're out bad. Explain to us what that means. Holy cow.
So back in the golden age of bikers, which no longer exists anymore, but one percenters would use what they call out bad as a general rule of thumb. It's a jacket that you put on somebody that maybe they're not loyal, maybe they like to screw around with people's old ladies, or they like to screw around with kids, whatever it is that's not ethical.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it used to be. Now it's a weapon. It's a way to shut up your competition. When people are not when they're not falling into line with your greedy agenda, which happens in every one of these gangs. Doing my work for as long as I've been doing it, talking to it doesn't matter, Hells Angels, pagans, I have found zero loyalty in any of these gangs, and they all do the same thing. But once you're put out bad, nobody's allowed to talk to you. Everybody. So that's when I finally realized these guys don't give a shit about me. It doesn't matter look what I've done. Look at all of the things that I've done to build this gang, to make it the strongest gang. Look at the sacrifices that I've made. And now, because I'm not going to let you guys punk me, because I'm going to stand up for myself, you're going to put me out bad and hush me? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to go into details, but I have all 6 of those cuts that those guys sent down.
Okay.
I have all those trophies, and they belong to me. But it created a shitstorm. And once I done that, then I wasn't getting the reaction from them, the contact from them. So then I went to social media. If you'd ever like to see these videos, Murph, I can email them to you. But there are a lot of meth induced rants. But once I hit social media, and literally I made Arizona a no-fly zone. And we took a few more cuts. Every time we would catch somebody flying, we would take them. And I just went into this. My sister finally was like, Malachi, why don't you just put it all in a box and burn it? Haven't we lost enough? And I was like, I'm not going to quit. I want to take them all. And she's like, okay, as long as you promise me that nobody in our family is going to get hurt, nobody else. And a couple of days later, Jeff and the task force hit both of our shops looking for clues to the ATM caper.
Mm-hmm.
And the dope that I was sitting on, I left at my dad's shop, and my dad got arrested with it. And here's the crazy thing. Ray Lamone, who was my corporal, who I told you was a decorated Army Ranger and one squared away person. And if you see this, Ray, I love you with all my heart, man. And I hope you and your family are good. He knew my dad. We worked together for years. He was the lead man on the SWAT team when they kicked the door to my dad's shop in. My dad didn't know what was going on. All he knew is that the Vagos were trying to hurt us. So he went to the door with the loaded .357 Magnum and pointed it at Ray. And Ray took a moment because he knew my dad and said, Butch, put the gun down. And my dad did. Now, if it had been anybody else, I'm sure they'd have killed my dad entering that building. And then he came to me and was, hey, what is wrong with you, man? What are you doing? And a couple of things happened, man. I got drug out of the house. My kids were out there, and I hated Jeff Isles with all my heart, dude. And I watched him bring blankets out and put shoes on I saw a compassionate person for the first time in my life. And then I went to jail, and I'm sitting there in jail, and I'm watching my then 70-some-year-old father try to get comfortable on a jail bed. And it was at that point that I said, these guys have taken all that they're ever going to take. And I'll do whatever it is that I have to do. So that I don't care if I go to prison, fine. But my dad's not going to spend another day in a prison cell, in a jail cell.
So what'd you do?
So I got out of jail, and I walked out of the Sallyport, and Jeff Files was sitting there, and he said, you ready to come work for Team America? And I said, yes.
Well, did his jaw hit the ground?
I don't know.
Was he shocked?
Yeah. I mean, he was, we did some really good work together, though. So
that's what we're supposed to do. as law enforcement. But that led to additional issues with the Vagos and the Banditos, didn't it?
Yeah, so I have a green light on me from the Vagos. I have a green light on me from the Banditos.
And what does that mean, a green light?
It just means that I'm to be erased off the face of the earth on sight.
You can be killed by anybody.
And I've had zero. Well, I don't live in that area anymore, so I don't live anywhere where there's Banditos. But I do. I have had run-ins with the Vagos, and I can tell you that they've lost everything they've sent this way. I've fared very well, but it has been on site every single time that I've seen them.
You still taking their cuts?
No, the last. So I'm really in hot water because the last interaction I had was forever. So that's somebody that's in 20 years and they get voted in by all the forevers and they're pretty much untouchable. And I went into a bar in Arizona and I went to a bar specifically where there wouldn't be any of those guys. But when I went in, there was him and a couple prospects, and I just went to the bar, ordered a beer, started drinking it, and pretty soon I heard him start telling me I needed to get out of the bar so they could handle business. And I told him I wasn't leaving, and the two prospects, I don't know, one of them got me pretty good, but I handled both of them, and then forever I pleaded with him to leave me be, and he came and took a swing, so I did what I had to do, and he got it pretty bad. So
how long ago was that?
That's been about 3 years, I think, something like that. So now I'm I don't frequent the bars in Bullhead City for that reason, but I also let Jeff know when I'm in town, so that way he always keeps a pretty good eye on me.
Mm-hmm. Are you still under? Is that green light still active today?
I'm sure I don't want to test it. I mean, I'm sure that once this episode hits, that public information department for the Vagos is going to deny it, even knowing what a green light is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to chance it, man. Like I said, my life's totally different now. But I will never give those guys any quarter. So
I want to ask you a question about, so that day that your brother Jay was killed, you said that was not a legit fundraiser. That was just a trick to get you guys there.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that I noticed. There was no children there.
Okay.
And there was 0 kids there. In my conference that I teach now, I had what really turned it into something great, was me adding all the discovery, the videos, because we have 911, we have a video of the shootout, and the everybody that was interviewed that day, and there was 0 kids at that fundraiser.
So, and that leads me to the next question. I had George Christie on here on the podcast several months ago, former head of the Hells Angels out of L.A., Ventura, whatever it was.
Yeah, Ventura.
And he actually carried the Olympic torch as the president of Hells Angels. We hear about whether it's fake or not, that they're raising funds for a cancer victim, that they're shopping for toys to give to underprivileged children at Christmas time. Is any of that legit, or is that is that a scam? Is that just trying to create some positive appearance to the public, but then they continue to do what they were doing? What's your opinion of all that?
It's exactly that. It's continuing to provide a positive, because there's so many negative things. Now, George Christie, him and I probably won't agree on this, but he comes from the golden age of motorcycle clubs, right? He doesn't know it, but him and Sonny used to drive by my mother's house. My mom has pictures of them.
Sonny being Sonny Barger.
Yes. He's my dad's age. So he very well, I'm sure he experienced some of the things that he talks about. But it's not like that today. Anybody that says that these are MCs, that their motorcycle clubs are full of shit, it is absolutely not a fact. I've been around every swinging dick from every swinging one, and I've seen the same thing. These guys they're gangs, plain and simple. They don't want to be labeled that, and they don't want the public to know that, because then that puts them in a different category for prosecution. But I didn't join a motorcycle club. I joined a gang.
Mm-hmm. And that's some of the other interviews I've done. When I refer to them as OMG, Outlaw Motorcycle Gang, I'll get some comments back from people on social media. Club, not a gang, it's a club.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And it is what it is. Here's the thing. you take a bunch of guys, okay? Here's the danger. The danger is when these guys engage with another gang. Okay? Predictable analytics. With migration comes violence.
Mhm.
So when we moved into New Mexico without the Banditos' permission, it wasn't a matter of if there was going to be violence. It was a matter of when it was going to happen. And the thing, so you were just talking about fundraisers, okay? That was a legitimate fundraiser for that young lady. She had cancer. She wasn't there. The news made it up like it was, but it is a factual thing. Let's say you got a bunch of Vagos and they're doing a fundraiser for a sick girl, and the Hells Angels show up to handle business. That's the problem right there. That's when it all goes out the window. Those guys are not going to usher everybody to safety. That's where these guys present the biggest danger, is because they are going to get down with each other, and it doesn't matter who gets caught in the crossfire, because you're not told. When I was in Reno, I was told by Jester as a young prospect, hey, if something happens, you get down. He didn't say watch out for kids. He didn't say any of that. He just said make sure that you hurt them back or we're going to hurt you.
Mhm.
And that's the whole situation.
Well, that Eppies, wasn't that a hangout for the Banditos?
Well, pretty much everywhere was. And I mean, I never saw them there in force, but I understand why they did the things that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a president, when I was a president of any of the charters at Vagos, if I had a problem with somebody, that's what and I'm going to get, I'm sure, a bunch of hate mail about this, but your support clubs are an extension of your power. You can handle things, you can get business handled with your support clubs. That's what they're there for, and not get your hands dirty. And that's exactly what happened in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They use the black berets to do their dirty work.
That's correct.
Well, I mean, hence the name support clubs. That's what it's all about. So you connect with Jeff. Are we talking about the early 20s now, 2020 when this took place?
Yeah, I think it was either late 2020 or early 2021.
Okay. And when you came on Team America, what did that involve?
So just I helped him dismantle all of the organizations that were there in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's probably more all the details I want to go into.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then I was still having difficulty with substance abuse. But I was finally, the decisions I made, hitting up Facebook and posting videos and just calling out National and calling them a bunch of cowards and a lot more than that. But that solidified that I would never be welcome in that lifestyle ever again. Because when you go public, it's just, which I don't care. I have zero loyalty to any of those guys. They're, like I said, what I do today is help raise awareness that they are a gang, that they're all gangs, and that that they're all full of shit. Mm-hmm. They're gonna lie to your face and try to say that MF stands for mostly family and MC stands for motorcycle club. So
yeah.
The first seminar that Jeff and I did together, it was only an hour. He had reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to work with him, and if I wanted to do a gang presentation with him, and I don't think I was there, but I warmed up to the idea, and then I did it, and it was the feedback that I got afterwards and the letters I got from people that attended it were interesting, but I thought it would just be a one-time deal, and then now it just gained so much momentum. It's never would have thought that it would have. Mm-hmm. And then when I added discovery and videos and audio, it turned a 1 hour presentation into a 4 hour presentation.
Wow.
And it's just been East Coast, West Coast, just nonstop.
How did you overcome your meth addiction?
My wife left me again and moved to Texas, and I was still in Albuquerque at the time, and what happened was I would call her to talk to the kids, and one evening I called and I talked to my son and I talked to Selena, and then I was like, can I talk to Janessa? And my wife was like, she doesn't want to talk to you. And she's all, in fact, since we're back where we're back at, she's like, just if you're not going to clean up, if you're not going to get clean, then stop calling me. And so I spent about a month on the streets of Albuquerque, just going from dope house to dope house. And then I heard that I would have better luck going into a detox facility if I had more than one drug in me. So I took a couple of oxys and got really high and walked into Matt's. It's a detox center in Albuquerque. And I spent 5 days there, got out, called my plug to get high again. I was at my wife's uncle's house, and his caretaker said, "Hey, are you trying to get clean?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "I know this really good program. The guy's in town, but it's in Colorado. Would you like me to call him?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." I wasn't. And the guy from the program showed up before my plug did. And I got in the van and went to Colorado, and I've been clean since then.
You got in immediately?
Yeah, I got in his van, and he was driving everybody back to Colorado.
Wow.
to a sober living place. Yeah, I've been sober. It's going on, I think, my 6th year,
Good
5th
for
year.
you. Good
Yeah,
for you. And we'll say a prayer that you don't ever go through those demons again.
and I still drink once in a while, but yeah, I don't plan on you know, a lot of things have changed. The day my brother died, man, I had always had, my dad's a very religious man, and pray, 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 pray. But the day Jay died, man, I walked away from God for good. I was like, no, how could you let that happen? Then I realized, once I got my head out of that meth cloud and got clean, I realized that, he was there all along, and that things happen the way that they happen. I have a good relationship with him now, these days. And again, the dynamics of my life have completely changed. Try to do stuff at jails if I can. I am working on a book slowly. And I just try to teach all these conferences, man, to get the word out that the truth. That's what my conferences are all about, truth. And that there isn't much that you hear out in the streets about it.
Yeah. Do you still ride bikes?
I do. I
Still
still
got a
ride.
Harley, not a crotch rocket?
I have a ZX 14R, and I got still got my shovel, and I got a road glide.
Nice.
Uh,
Very nice.
I don't, once you change your life a few degrees, it really doesn't matter where you're at. You're not going to run into the same people.
Right. But you watch your back.
I always watch my back.
I was
Yes.
getting ready to say it a different way, but I'm trying to clean up my language.
Well, and then I still retain my gun rights, so I carry a gun everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah.
Well, let me ask you, if you had not been out bad with the Vagos and things had continued to this day, do you think you'd still be a member of the Vagos?
No, because of what happened to my brother Bo in 2017. We were in about the same amount of time. He was one of my closest brothers when I was in. And in 2017, he was attacked by his president and sergeant arms of his charter, and he shot and killed both of them. And we can, tell that story later, but it divided the Vagos and the way that they handled that. And he's out bad. They say they put him out in good standings with no contact, and they buried those other two
Mm-hmm.
people with honors. But yeah, that was the beginning. That was before I got wrapped up. I stayed another couple of years in before I got put out, but it weakened. Tata made the national president at the time. I told him face to face, man, I said, you let those guys' families bury him, and you make this dude the P, or you make us look weak. And he went the other way. And sharks, man, sharks eat their own, dude.
Yep.
And
what
it
about your
really,
dad? Is he out bad?
my dad's out bad also, yes. Yeah, and it's just, like I said, all of these people, all of these so-called brothers, and all the years that I was in, the day that I was out bad, have had zero contact with them. None.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, because it's a shame for them. It's their loss. But yeah, there's no loyalty, man. It's all about the furtherment of the organization or gang, whatever you want to call them. As soon you're the biggest, baddest until you're not anymore. And then everybody wants to take all your shit, take your bike, try and screw your old lady, talk bad about you. And it's horrible. And I've been doing this teaching for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I have come across gentlemen from every organization, from every team, that have experienced the same things. So it doesn't that you might be loyal to a certain patch, color, or creed, but the ideology is the same across the board. There's no loyalty. They're all greedy. And when you get in the way of that, you get put out bad, so they can silence your voice.
Yeah. And it seems like one of the things I see in common amongst the probably most criminals, but especially the outlaw motorcycle gangs, is they become users of meth and other drugs, and their priority is not the club anymore. The priority is getting that next fix. How can you help me get money so I can get high again?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely changed the dynamics for me. Do I think the same things would have happened? I think it would have been worse.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think the Lord was watching out for me, and he delivered me kicking and screaming to Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to take a minute to if you see this episode, Jeff, that you know how I feel about you, man. You're a true brother, someone that truly has my back. And if it wasn't for you, I would be in a pine box or in a prison cell, man. And I can never thank you enough for that.
Wow. What a great testament there, Jeff. You said you watched a couple episodes of Game of Crimes, and I refer to my law enforcement families as brothers and sisters. I haven't called you brother yet, but you just mentioned that you're a Christian, so that makes us brothers in Christ.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, it seriously does. I take that very serious. I know the answer to this question, but if you had it to do all over again, would you change anything?
I would. I would have pursued my law enforcement career and left that other shit alone.
Yeah.
And probably be sitting having a beer with my brother right now.
That's sad.
But it's made me into the person that I am. I'm a survivor. Don't know why. There's so many guys that I've met doing this in law enforcement that are ex-military and stuff that I have stuff in common with them because I've been in some really bad situations and got out of them. And the love that I've been shown from a lot of these different people and I'll send you a copy of we call it The Letter, and it closes Jeff and I's seminar after we teach. But my daughter wrote a letter to Jeff. I don't have it handy, Steve, or I would read it for you. But it's so overwhelming, the things that she says about Jeff and me, and that all she tells Jeff the only thing that she knew about him was that he was the bad guy that was after her dad, and that she feels like her dad died the day that Jay did. That I've never been the same. But she's like, she thanks Jeff for not treating me like a monster and giving me a second chance. And it's so emotional that Jeff and I can't read it. We actually had to record her reading it, and then we play it at the end of our seminar. But
I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
When I tell Jeff that, I'm like, you sell yourself too short. The first time that guy showed weakness, like he showed me that he was vulnerable, that he was human.
Mm-hmm.
It just made our bond greater, man. Yeah. And I said, what did they ask you when you wanted to be a cop? Why did you want to be a cop? And he's like, to help people. I'm like, bro, I'm a walking testament. Mm-hmm. You saved my life, man. You drug me out of that life, kicking and screaming. I've turned my life around, and that negative things that I used to do, I do positive things. My children are prospering, and I don't have to look over my shoulder. I do a lot of homework on outlaw motorcycle gangs to keep myself current, so I know what I'm talking about. And I'm so glad I don't live that lifestyle anymore and have to look over my shoulder all the time and wonder who's it coming from? Is it from another team or the guy that I call brother?
Yep.
And I saw Bandito on a podcast the other day, and he was talking about he was less of a man for being a part of that organization. And I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm more of a man. I feel like when you persevere through hardships, it makes you stronger, man. And you hopefully won't make those same mistakes. But yeah, in closing, it's all about the furtherment of the gang, man. There's no brotherhood. Mm-hmm. There's no loyalty anymore. It's all your catalyst, your fuel for that machine to keep it moving forward.
Yep. That's what I see on all the different things I've read about it. Our guests, if they have a book, I try to read the book before I have them on the show. And, because I have interviewed so many police officers who infiltrated outlaw biker gangs, I had some former bikers on here. It seems to be the same message every time. It's just not what it's portrayed to be.
That the one guy that I still talk to, we agree on one thing, which is the things that we were looking for when we joined do not exist. Absolutely not. So
Yeah, different time than when your dad was up.
that's right.
So we're coming here to the end, but I just want to ask you one more question. Well, I got a couple more questions, but this is a
Shoot.
really good one.
Okay.
What advice would you give young people today that are thinking about a career in law enforcement, that are thinking about, well, I really like that biker lifestyle. That looks really cool. I remember George Christie talking about the first time when he was a kid, he saw a biker stop at a red light with that loud motorcycle and just that don't give a shit attitude. What advice would you have for young people today?
I would say that if law enforcement is something that you want to do as a career, that don't give up on your dreams, man. You can make it happen, and even if you run into hardships, there's people out there that will help you get through. Motorcycles, I love them, man. It's what drew me to that lifestyle, but you don't have to. The guys, I saw a kid the other day on a black Harley Davidson wearing jeans and boots and a Levi jacket, his hair spiked up and sunglasses on and a smile on his face. And I rolled my window down and I said, "Don't change a thing about you. You got the right idea." The true freedom is experiencing that right there. You don't need a logo on the back of your jacket to prove to any out here about what you're capable of or what kind of person you are. The weak ones do. They're the ones losing. The winners, the true brotherhood, are the three guys that are standing in a corner having a beer together that don't have anything on their jackets. And I wish I'd learned that sooner, but I've got everywhere I wanted to be in life by not giving up. And you can't have it both ways. If you want to be a police officer, then be a police officer. But you can't be in a law enforcement motorcycle club because you're dancing with the devil right there.
Don't tarnish the badge.
That's right. I always tell everybody, your code of ethics and being in law enforcement puts you up here. Why would you want to be down here?
Yep.
So,
Unfortunately, that's when we have somebody makes that choice, that's what the media exploits. They don't talk about all the good things that law enforcement does. So if people want to get a hold of you and Jeff, we have a lot of law enforcement brothers and sisters and first responders that listen to the podcast here, not just here in the United States, but around the world. How would they contact you guys to maybe have you come in and speak?
So you can contact me at Malachi Seaman. It's MALACHI SEAMAN, the number 5 at gmail.com. And just let me know that you're interested in seeing. I'm working on my own breakout class right now by myself, but Jeff and I have a wonderful class. If you haven't seen it, your department should see it. You can get a hold of me and we can arrange something. The email is usually how I communicate. And then once I establish who I'm talking to, then we can do phone numbers and everything like that. So, and then I don't have his email handy, but Jeff Files is a detective for the Arizona State Gang Task Force. And you can locate him through Department of Public Safety, I believe, or the Bullhead City Police Department.
Excellent. And for our listeners out there, if you forget all this being said, and I'm going to put a little screen up here just so you know, Malachi, that people will see this. But if you forget everything else, contact me at gameofcrimespodcast@gmail.com. And I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with Jeff and Malachi here. And then you guys can explore from there what you want to do. Looked on social media for you, Malachi. I found you on Facebook and Instagram. It's the only places I found you, and it looks like there hasn't been a lot added recently. So not real active on social media.
No, not really. I think I
wasn't either.
Barely on Instagram, and I think I have 2 Facebooks, but I don't use at all, which could be the one you came across, and one I use like periodically, but
I found the first one. I think the last thing I saw on there was from 22, and then the other one was from 24.
Yeah.
I found both of them there, but it
okay.
So anyway, when you have your book out, and you said you're working on it slowly, so it doesn't sound like it's going to be next week, but let me know. I'll be glad to promote your book here on the Game of Crimes. And
absolutely, man. I'll see to it that you get a copy. Again, I'm not percentage-wise. I might be close to halfway through. I'm just trying to make sure I have facts right. And I do a lot of like when I'm at work, I do like Google dictate and just talk to the computer and then kind of hone through that stuff. And But I'm hoping maybe before the end of the year, I'd like to be able to hand something to a publisher and let them take a look. So we'll see.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, brother, I tell you what, man, thank you so much for giving me the extra time because this was unplanned. Quite honestly, I thought I'd be lucky to get 90 minutes out of this, and we're coming up in our third hour here.
That's awesome,
But
man.
but your life is so interesting, and I think you were very transparent and honest with everything you told us. That you recognize the BS that goes along with these type of groups.
Yeah,
You're putting the word out there, even though I mean technically your life's in danger still from two different organized motorcycle groups, not clubs, gangs, but you're still willing to tell your story. You're out there trying to teach law enforcement more about these groups, and I'm going to guess presumably so that they can investigate them. I started to say attack them, but investigate them to show the criminal activities they're involved with. That's what a police officer's job is. It's called law enforcement. It's to enforce the law, everybody,
absolutely.
which most of the listeners here know that. But like you said, there's probably going to be some folks listening to this that don't like you, and certainly don't like me. It's okay. If you don't like me, go watch another damn podcast. It's that
Hey,
simple.
I'm used to hate mail. Let the haters hate.
There you go. You and Taylor Swift, right? Listen,
I'm
we
not going to
wish
say
you.
nothing about her. That's my daughter's favorite, so I'm not saying nothing derogatory about her.
Oh, I'm with you. My granddaughters would, well, they'd cut me. I wouldn't get any more phone calls. I wouldn't get any more hugs or anything if I ever talked bad
That's
about
right.
Taylor. But it has been an honor to have you on here. And Jeff Viles, thank you so much for making this introduction to Malachi here. Listeners, thank you for coming back every week, for continuing to see me stumble through these interviews. But I do it with the point of trying to educate myself as well as you. But I know it's all because of you as the reason this show is successful. So I can't thank you enough. Again, if you haven't checked us out on YouTube yet, please go over there and type in Game of Crimes Podcast in the search bar. When it comes up, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel this year. It was growing pretty good, and it's kind of slowed down for a little bit of time now. I'm loving what I'm doing. I was a cop for 38 years. I really don't know how to do anything else. So now I live vicariously through what all the current cops are doing and love bringing you the stories. I don't know why you continue coming back, but actually I do, because you love coming back to play the biggest, the baddest, the most dangerous game of all, and that's the game of crimes. Malachi, thank you, brother. Listeners, see y'all next week. God bless.